Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. My name is Richard Rost. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to sync a remote database without using internet access. Today's question comes from William. William asks, I travel a lot, mostly by plane. The locations I go to are often in developing countries without reliable internet. I need to take my customers and contacts with me, but the home office needs to be able to use that database too. I need to be able to view my customer list to get phone numbers and such. I'd also like to be able to add new contact records so when I make calls I can log them and then sync that data back into the main database at the office when I return. Can this be done with Access? William, I get asked this once in a while. A lot of the times today people have reliable internet access, so if you're at home or if you're at a client site or you're somewhere else, you can log in over the internet and you can share your data online using something like SharePoint or SQL Server and then connect to it with your Access database. However, if you're traveling, if you're going by plane, you might not have good enough internet access on the plane or even by cruise ship to where you can reliably connect to your Access database. I've traveled myself and gotten internet on planes and on cruise ships, and the connection's not good enough for Access. It's real slow, spotty packet traffic. So you can get email, you can maybe get a web page, but Access requires a more reliable connection. So whether you're traveling or you're going to a location where there is no internet, I used to go and travel up into the woods of Maine, and there's no internet up there either. So if I wanted to take a copy of my database, I had to make a copy of it. The problem is the people back in the office need the database too. If you got other people working on it, they need to be able to add and remove and delete records and stuff. So what you can do is you can make a copy of your database and sync it up with the main database when you return to the office or when you get reliable internet access. You could do it online. But today what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to make a copy of your database, and we'll sync up the contact records. This way, when you are leaving, you click one button in the parent database and it will copy all the current information down to your child database or your main and remote, whatever you want to call them. So you have the current information while you're traveling, and then when you return from your trip, you get back to the office, you can run another query and that will copy all of your updates back. Let's see how we do this. Okay, here I've got a real simple database. This is my database for class. It's got contacts and customers in it. Customers are basically customers, and the contacts are the times you talk to that customer. All right, talked about sales. He's a nice guy. You can put extra notes down here. Go to a different customer. There's James Kirk. Click contacts. All right, Starship Captain, and so on. You can put all the information you want down here. Wants to know where Spock is, and so on. So what our need here is to be able to take the database with us when we travel. Now you can sync up whatever tables you want. For class, for the video, I'm just going to do one table. We'll do the contacts table. In the extended cut for members, I'll do both the customer and the contacts table. This will allow you to at least view and browse the current customer information, and you can add to the contacts. So while you're on the plane, if you want to type up notes, you can do that in here. If you're at your remote location and you want to make phone calls, you can log your phone calls, and then when you get back to the office, you can sync them back up. The problem with syncing data, if you look at your contact table, okay, here's my contact table. It's got contact ID, customer ID, contact date, a description, and notes. Contact ID is my auto number. That's my primary key. It defines each contact instance. All right, each phone call, each time you meet with a customer, whatever, that's called a contact. Not to be confused with a person, a contact at a company. No, a contact is an event. Each contact is assigned to a customer. There's your customer ID. That's the foreign key. The date and time is put in here. I just put some sample ones in. A brief description, short text. I like that for lists and stuff. And then notes is a long text field. You can put whatever you want in there. Now, the problem that we have with syncing two databases together is with our auto numbers. Now, auto numbers are the best field to use for tracking your primary key, without a doubt. I've got a whole other video called Auto Numbers Good or Bad that explains why you want to use auto numbers in almost every instance. However, if we copy this database and take it to a remote location, and then the remote person adds another record, okay, he's just added record ID 6. If someone at the main office adds a record, he also added ID 6. Then when I try to bring these records back together again, it's going to cause problems. You're going to run into collisions with your primary keys. You can't have two contact ID 6s. So we need a better way to manage our auto numbers. I'm going to hit escape here. Let's go to design view. Now, for our auto number field, come down here, you'll see new values. There's increment, and if you drop this down, there's random. A lot of people don't know about this. There are random auto numbers. It says once you change this to an auto number random, you won't be able to go back. So are you sure? Say yes. Now, the existing data in here, I'm going to save this and open it back up again. The existing data in here is the way it is. And that's fine, because when you make your database copy, 1 through 5 aren't going to change. They're going to stay 1 through 5. But when I add a new record now, I get a random number. Now, why a random number? Well, Access figures if you're going to be having two separate databases that you want to merge together at some point, you're much, much less likely to run into any collisions if it assigns random IDs. Now remember, these IDs aren't visible to your customer. Nobody should care what these IDs are except Access. You can make custom customer codes or invoice numbers if you want to display those for your customers, but the IDs are used for internal purposes only, so you shouldn't care what they are. If they're random, if they're negative, doesn't matter. I've got other videos where I can show you how to make custom invoice numbers, custom customer codes. I'll put links below if you're curious on how to do that. But Access will generate a random number. So if I add a new contact here, it's getting a random number. If I add one in the field, it gets a random number. If someone adds one, back in the main office, it gets a different random number. And the chances of those colliding are infinitesimal. In fact, I did some math. All right, an auto number is a 4-bit long integer. It has values from minus 2 billion to plus 2 billion. All right, 2.14, whatever. That's 4,294,000,000 possible combinations for that random number. That means if you added one record every second for a whole year, you would have a 1 in 136 chance of running into a duplicate value. That's adding a new record every second for a year. So unless you've got a gigantic database that's got lots and lots and lots and lots of activity, the chances of running into a collision are extremely small. And if those odds aren't good enough for you, you can use something called a UUID or a GUID. That stands for Universally Unique Identifier, or Microsoft's version is called a Globally Unique Identifier. And that's a 128-bit value instead of a 4-bit value, which is what an auto number is. It looks something like that. Microsoft puts little curly braces around theirs. And according to GUIDgenerator.com, if every human on Earth generated 600 million GUIDs, there would be only a 50% probability of a duplicate. 600 million of them times the 7 billion people on Earth. So you can see that's a pretty good value. Big databases like SQL Server and that will use GUIDs to generate random numbers like this, because no two would ever realistically collide. But for the purposes of most small or mid-sized business databases, a random auto number is good enough. I've used this myself in the past for my own purposes and for clients, and I've never run into a collision. Okay, so now that I've given you some background on random auto numbers and sold you on them, hopefully, let me finish putting this in here, just a test. Okay, and you'll see the next one in here. Okay, see, random number. You have to give these customer IDs. Let's say customer 1. All right. And if you don't know how to create related contacts, then I have other videos for that too. If you don't know basic relationships between two tables like customers and contacts, watch my other videos on how to set up relationships. I'll put links below this video. Oh, and this, by the way, yeah, you're going to see those pounds there because these IDs are getting long now, right? So you might want to hide these or whatever, or make this field bigger. And this says pound name down here because this contact form is designed to be pulled off of the customer form, right? It puts a default value in there, which is whatever the customer ID is. But anyways, now that I've changed my contact ID to a random auto number, I'm ready to make a copy of this database. Let's close this database down. I'm going to rename this one. Let's call this the main database. And I'm going to make a copy of it. Right-click, drag, and copy it right on my desktop. And we'll call this one the remote database. Same exact stuff in both of them. I'll put them right across the table from each other. Now what we're going to do is we're going to link to the order table in each of these databases. All right, so now I've got a database here and I got a database here. Let's open up main again. External data, new data source, from database, access. If you've never done linked tables before, I've got videos for that too. I'll put a link below. All right, click on Browse. Mine's on my desktop. It's going to be the remote database right down here. Hit Open. Hit OK. We're going to link to the contact table in that database. Now it comes in as contactee1. Right-click. Let's rename it. We're going to call it contactee-remote. Yeah, I know I usually say put the T at the end, but this is an exception. You could go contact remote T if you want to. Now I've got a copy of the data in the remote database. Okay, it should be exactly the same because I copied the whole database file. All right, let's close this. Let's go over to the remote database now. Open this guy up. Do the same thing in reverse. External data, new data source, from database, access, link to what file? Desktop, and we're going to link to the main database. Hit OK. The contact table. All right, rename this one contactee.main or -main. All right, again, same data. Now, I like to also just make some kind of a visual difference between these guys. Like, let's change this guy's color. All right, just so the databases look visually different. All right, maybe make this one red and put in here, you know, remote. This is my remote database, so I know. Okay. Everything else can stay the same. Just one thing in here should be different visually. All right, now I'm going to slide this like so we can see both databases at the same time. Okay, here's the remote. Let's open up the main. Okay, like this. And slide that over like that. All right, there's both databases. Now, they're both sitting on my desktop. Now, if I come in here in the contact table, all right, let's say I've just copied these and I'm on vacation now, okay? In the remote database, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a couple of contacts. I'm going to add for customer 6, okay? Contact 1, and then customer 6 over here, contact 2. All right, those are just 2 times I called and talked to customer 6. And notice he's got 2 random auto numbers assigned. Okay, close that. Meanwhile, at the same time, back in the main office, back at the Batcave, right, contactee, those contacts don't show up here. Of course not. These databases are separated now. They're linked together, but right now this link isn't going to work, okay? Because we can assume I took this database file and I copied it to my laptop or whatever. All right, so this table normally won't open. Let me try to get this right where it was. Okay, all right. So ignore the fact that I can see this database for now. Okay, meanwhile, back in the office, they add new contacts for customer 7. All right, 2 contacts for customer 7. And the text is meaningless, right? You could say whatever here. Okay, so this table has 2 for customer 7, and this table over here has 2 contacts for customer 6. Yeah, they're sorted by contact ID, so you can see that one went way up there. It doesn't matter. I'm going to sort these by contact date time. So let's right-click over here, and we'll sort oldest to newest. So the newest ones show up on the bottom. All right, there's contact 6. All right, and we'll do the same thing over here with the contact table. All right, sort this by contact date time. Okay. Okay, so everything's good and fine and dandy right now. Now, I come back from my trip, and I want to sync these up to this database, and this guy's going to want to sync those down to that one. Now, you can't just copy and paste the records, all right? Even though I can go in here, all right, I could grab this one. Let me show you, okay? Since I can now connect to this guy. All right, here's the local table. Oh, wrong table. Here's the local table and the remote table, okay? If I copy this record here, which is one of the new ones, copy, and paste it up here, all right, it's getting a different ID. When you copy and paste, Access assigns a brand new ID. But if you use an append query, it will take these IDs and append them into this table. All right, this is something that I covered in one of my other videos where I show you how you can reuse an auto number. All right, if you accidentally delete an auto number, you can get it back by using an append query. I'll put a link to that video down below too. All right, so copying and pasting is out of the question, but we can use an append query. Now, here's the thing with append queries. It'd be nice if I could make one button that would just do both transfers at once, but unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You can only pull records from one database into itself. Okay, you can't push records the other way. I've tried this, it doesn't work. So we need two queries, one over here and one over here. Each one will pull records from the other table. So this guy needs an append query to get records from the remote. All right, so create, query design. I'm going to make this bigger just for the purposes of building these queries. Okay. All right, what are we adding to the query? We're going to go to links, add in contactee remote. We're going to change this to an append query. What table are we appending to? My contact table in this database. What fields? All fields. Save this. We're going to save this as get contacts from remote queue. All right. And then we'll do the same thing in the other database. This guy over here. All right. We're going to go create, query design, links, pull in from contactee main, change it to an append query. What are we appending to? The contactee in this database. All right, all fields. Save it. Get contacts from main queue. All right, so now I've got a query in each of the databases that will pull the records from the other one. All right, get contacts from main, get contacts from remote. Unfortunately, yeah, you can't push. You can only pull. So let's run it over here. Double click. Now, you will get an error message. It says Access can't append all the records. Why? It didn't add 7 records due to key violations. In other words, it's pulling all the records in from the other table, from the remote table, but it won't duplicate them. So if that ID exists already, it won't import it. That's fine. That's actually what we want. So say yes. All right, it'll pull in all the new records from the remote. Open up your contactee, and there you go. You got both 6 and 7 over here. All right, let's take a look over here. He's only got 6. Why? Well, we got to sync back up this way now. All right, I'm ready to go on vacation again. Getting ready to leave. I'm going to get contacts from main. Double click. Okay, it didn't add 9 records due to key violation. That's okay. Say yes. Now open this guy up, and now look, you've got all 11 records. So right now they should both be synced up. See what happens? Right? You go away, you hit this button, it pulls in all of the contacts over here. Any duplicated ones won't be doubled up. That's a good thing. It'll only pull down different records. And because of our random IDs, the chances of these colliding with any ones that are in my table are infinitesimal. Could it possibly happen? Yeah, it's possible. But chances are it won't. Now I can go away. I can disconnect this database. I can add records over here. They can add records over here. When I come back home, all right, all I have to do is open up this database, get contacts from remote, and then when I'm ready to leave again, get contacts from main. And these two queries will sync the databases back and forth. That's it. That's pretty much all you have to do. You just have to remember in this database, you can't change customer information or add customers. All right. Now, you can lock this table if you want to. All right. You can go into design view in here, go under data, and change these things in here. So allow additions as no, allow deletions as no, allow edits as no. Okay. Now in this database, if you try to change a customer, you can't. I'm tapping on my keyboard right now. I can't add a customer. That'll remind me, hey, you can't do much of customers, but I can still look my customers up. All right. I can still, well, let me close this here. Okay. I can still go into their contacts. All right. And when you do that, you can't resize the form there. Okay. There we go. All right. I can't change contacts in here either. So you might want to come in here, go to design view in here. All right. And you may want to go allow edits as no, allow deletions or no, but allow additions is fine. I can add contacts because they'll sync back up over here, but I'm not going to allow myself to edit any contacts that are in there. You may or may not want to leave that property on because you can, theoretically, you can edit the contacts that you just made or deleted them before they're synced back up over here. You could even put a field in here to indicate whether they've been synced or not. There's all kinds of things you can do. Microsoft used to have something called replicas, all right, or database replication. That was built into versions of Access. I think they canceled it in 2003 because it didn't work well. I tried using it a couple times for myself and for clients, and it just didn't work right. There's a lot of ifs and that's and buts. And it's okay to build it for yourself in a simple situation like this, but for them as Microsoft to release this as a feature and then it doesn't really work well for everybody, no, they were right to get rid of it. But if you want to do some simple database replication yourself, this is how you do it. So you could leave it so you could edit contacts, but just know that you could only edit the contacts that you have added since you broke the database connection. All right, if I change Starship Captain, for example, or this wants to know where Spock is, if it's a record over here in the parent database, it won't sync back over here. Yeah, you could do it with time indexes, and you can look for collisions and changes. That's a really, I could spend hours and hours building a database like that. But for the purposes of this lesson, all right, this gives you a simple way where you can take your customers with you, you can take the contact history that's already in there with you, and you can add new contacts to this database and sync them back up with this one. So William, hopefully that answers your question. All right, when you're on your plane trip, you can view your customers, you can add contact information. You could do this with any table you want. You could do this with your customer table if you wanted to. And in fact, for the members only video, I will do that. I will add customers to the list. We'll do both customers and contacts at the same time. So if you've got a database where you like write letters and stuff and put your customer correspondence in your database, you could do that while you're on the plane. Could you sync up remotely if you get internet access? Sure. That linked table can be anything. That linked table could be a link to an ODBC database, an SQL Server database, anything. Just remember, you can only pull data, you can't push it. So you can't push your data back up to the server. All right, the server has to pull it down to you. Okay, more coming up in the extended cut for members, silver members and up. I will show you how to also sync the customers. So you got customers and contacts. We will make a one-click sync of both tables. Each database will have a button in it. All right, from the server, you click the button, it'll pull in the records from the other one. When you get ready to leave, you open up the remote database, click the button, it'll pull the records down from the server instead of you having to remember to run a query. I'll turn off the warning messages so it doesn't pop up that warning message saying, oh, I couldn't import 7 records. We'll get rid of that. And we'll do this without queries. We'll write some SQL and some VBA, and we'll put it right in the button. We'll get rid of the queries. I don't like having tons and tons and tons of extra queries in my database. My database that I started back in 2003 for my business has probably 300 queries in it, and it's going to take too much effort to go through and get rid of them all. I like to write SQL if I can and put it straight in the buttons. That way there's no queries sitting in my database window. How do you get your hands on the members only video? Well, you can join my YouTube channel. Click on the join button down below the video. It's right next to the subscribe button, and you'll get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos. You'll see a list of all the levels, silver, gold, platinum, and so on. Silver members and up get access to the tech help videos. But I want everyone to know that I'm going to keep making these free tech help videos. I enjoy doing them, and nothing will change. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, though. Subscribing is free. You just get notifications whenever I release a new lesson. Also, be sure to stop by my forum at my website. And if you'd like to see your question answered in a tech help video, visit my tech help page. Now, if you haven't taken my free 3-hour class, that's 3 hours long, Access Level 1, lots of good beginner fundamental stuff in there. I am assuming that a lot of you, if you're watching this video and you're interested in replicating your database, you're probably beyond the basics, but you'd be surprised. A lot of people have told me they've been using Access for years, and they watched my beginner video and they picked up a couple things. So it's free, it's 3 hours long. Yeah, you might be a little bored, but check it out anyways, because you might pick up some tips in there. And if you like that, Level 2 is just $1. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. I hope you learned some stuff.